This is Earthworm Part 2. Mating. Worms like to mate on warm, damp nights. The two worms lie next to each other and wrap themselves together with slime. They stay close like this for several hours. After mating, the saddle on each worm makes a sticky belt of slime. The worm wiggles out of its belt and lays its eggs in it. The belt turns into a hard cocoon. It is smaller than a pea. Right here there's a picture with a caption that says a close-up of the saddle where worms' eggs are made. Worms have to mate with each other to make eggs. Every worm has both male and female parts to its body, so any worm it meets can be a mate. Hatching. Worms' eggs take many weeks or months to grow into the cocoon, or in the cocoon. In that time, some of the eggs will die. Sometimes just one or two worms hatch out of the cocoon. Here's a picture of a worm's cocoon, and over here is a picture with a caption that says, "Young earthworms are about as long as a thumbnail. They are whiter than their parents and they have no saddles at first. Otherwise, they look just the same." And this says an adult worm with many young worms. It takes 8 months for a young worm to grow up and lay eggs of its own. If it doesn't get eaten, the worm may live in the soil for 10 years or more. Enemies. Worms have many enemies, such as hedgehogs and shrews. Both of these animals are active at night when worms come out to feed. A mole is an earthworm's greatest enemy. Moles sometimes eat 30 worms a day as they tunnel under the ground. They store extra worms in a special pantry. This is a picture of a mole's pantry full of worms. Moles keep worms from escaping from their pantry by biting off their heads. This does not kill the worm. Its head grows again and the worm might be able to escape. Food for birds. Many birds eat worms. Robins, blackbirds, and thrushes all visit gardens and parks. They look and listen for tiny movements of earthworms in the ground. When a bird finds a worm, it grabs it by the tail. Worms are hard to pull out of the soil. The worm anchors itself in the ground with its bristles and pulls back hard with its powerful muscles. This is a picture of a fight between a bird and a worm, just like a tug-of-war. Birds hunt for worms in the spring when other food is scarce. As plants ripen in the summer and fall, birds usually leave worms alone. Worm wonders. There are over 1,800 different kinds of worms around the world. A medium-sized garden has about 20,000 earthworms. A worm's body is made up of about 250 segments. A famous scientist named Charles Darwin believed that the worm is the world's most important animal because it helps plants grow. Without worms, the soil would be wet, heavy, and hard to dig. Worms eat about 1/3 of their body weight every day. That's like a person eating 20 loaves of bread. Every crumb of soil in parks and gardens has passed through the body of a worm. Worm casts are very good for the garden. The soil in them is very fine and has valuable food from plants. Earthworm farms sell worms to gardeners to help them improve their soil. Fish like to eat juicy worms. That's why fishers use worms as bait. Worms have blood, but no heart. At the end of our book, you'll see we have the glossary that gives us words from the book and their meanings, and then the index with words, and it tells us what page to find our words from the book. And that is the end of our story. Thank you guys for listening.